Go, Cardi. You should be the first one. Go.
You can't get too close.
Let his kids go. Where's daughter? New York.
Yes, sir.
Fresh out the can.
Damn.
Off of 18 stretch.
Damn.
They gave me 7 and 5.
Max B when he gets
Nah,
it.
Max B.
Okay.
Max, out of here. People don't play with me with that conversation. Ain't nobody can tell me nothing about that. That's the first thing I say. You heard?
Okay.
That's how you feel. That end the deal for anybody. There ain't no Max talking about conversation. Period.
So, Max B is finally back on the streets after spending around 16 long years locked away, fighting nonstop for his freedom, staying hopeful, and taking hit after hit from all those setbacks. But now the wave has officially landed and the whole scene is buzzing. He's thankful, he's smiling, love is in the air, everything feels fresh again. But not everybody is celebrating. Word is that Jim Jones isn't exactly thrilled about Max stepping back into the spotlight, and the way people are clowning Jim right now is wild. The trolling is flying everywhere, and it looks like he's about to have a rough ride. It hasn't even been 3 full days since Max B came home, and he's already everywhere like he never left. You can't scroll for more than a second without seeing him living it up. One moment he's in a jewelry spot checking out chains, the next moment he's at a birthday event surrounded by friends, then he pops up in the club, and even shows up at a Jets game. It's like a camera crew is glued to him 24/7. This isn't some quiet sneak home type moment. Max came in loud, bold, and ready for the spotlight again. And honestly, people are loving every second of it. This was one of the most anticipated returns in hip-hop, and fans waited over a decade to see the wave in action again. So of course it makes sense that he's everywhere, making noise like he never missed a beat. He didn't just come home, he came home trending. He even proposed to his girlfriend just 1 day after getting out, which had the internet going crazy. But when this kind of hype hits the streets, drama always shows up right behind it. Old beef, wild stories, old rumors, jealousy, people taking sides. It all comes crawling back when someone makes a comeback this loud. But the biggest storm right now is his long, messy, legendary feud with Jim Jones. Jim has been trying for years to slide away from anything connected to Max B. He said it in interviews plenty of times that he doesn't want to talk about Max, doesn't want to deal with Max, nothing. In one interview, he even said F Max B, then later explained he might be able to forgive, but he'll never forget. Basically, that door was slammed shut. But with Max B free and moving again, Jim's name was bound to pop back up, and the person who kicked everything off and shocked absolutely nobody was 50 Cent. 50 and Jim already got their own beef, so the second Max got released, it was the perfect moment for 50 to start stirring things up. 50 jumped straight on Instagram and did what he does best. Got everybody talking. He posted a meme from the movie Belly, showing the character Rico eating a banana, with text labeling him as Jim Jones, basically pushing the idea that Jimmy was snitching. Then he captioned it in classic 50 style, saying something like, "Homie said Max home, it's packed in harbor, Jimmy about to drop a dime on these dudes, LOL." He even added a clip of Max B on FaceTime with DJ Who Kid. And once 50 jumped in, bloggers, hip-hop pages, and fans started going crazy too, making it even bigger. For people who don't know the history, the beef between Jim Jones and Max B wasn't some tiny rap argument. It was deep, personal, and seriously messy. Back in the mid-2000s, Jim and Max were moving like brothers, recording together, hanging out all over Harlem, always side by side. But before the fame and the drama, Max had already lived a wild life. He had just gotten out of prison in 2005 after doing 8 years on robbery charges. When he came home, the world met Max Bigavelli, a name he created by mixing 3 rap giants, Biggie Smalls, Machiavelli, Tupac, and Jigga Jay-Z. And when Max touched down, Harlem was already on fire, and the diplomats were running the city. Cameron, Juelz Santana, and Jim Jones had Harlem locked down, dropping anthems that shaped a whole era. Through Cameron, Max B crossed paths with Jim, and their chemistry hit instantly. Jim signed Max to his Bird Gang label and linked him with Harlem legend Dame Grease, and from that moment, everything started moving fast. In 2006, Max dropped his first mixtape, $1 Million Baby, and it swept through the streets like a storm. His raw, raspy voice, that loose melodic flow, and his wavy style made him sound completely different from anyone else. At the same time, Bird Gang had another rising name, Stack Bundles. With Max B and Stack both in his lineup, Jim Jones had a dangerous duo on his hands. They felt like the future of Harlem. Max became the secret weapon behind the hooks and melodies that helped Jim's records take off, and tracks like Baby Girl became neighborhood classics. Soon, people started whispering that Max was the real creative engine behind Jim's new sound.
Max.
Okay.
Max, suck dick. Fuck out of here.
All right.
How you feeling
I feel
right
righteous.
now?
I'm feeling good.
Feeling good,
I know
feeling
what it
good.
is. I'm grateful.
Okay.
I'm thankful.
Love that, love
God is
that.
good.
Marie Conway, a prostitute who'd been with Plowden, told her boyfriend Charlie Wingate, aka Max B, a rapper, about the men's money.
And that's when cracks started forming. As Max's fame grew, so did his street instincts, and those instincts pulled him into a situation that would flip his whole life upside down. Around this time, he was dealing with his ex-girlfriend, Gina Conway, and she told him about a flashy guy she knew, Alan J. Plowden, a man living fast with luxury cars, a mortgage hustle, mail fraud, and cash everywhere. According to Gina, Max couldn't ignore the chance for a big score, so he thought they could run a quick move. The idea was simple. Go to Plowden's hotel room, grab whatever money was inside, and leave clean. Gina said Max was the one who pushed the plan and told her everything would pay off if she helped. But nothing about that night went the way they imagined. Gina and Max's stepbrother, Kelvin Sims, were the ones who actually went out to do it. They planned to hit the room while Plowden was out partying, but everything went wrong from the start. They got lost, missed exits, and wasted hours driving around. By the time they finally reached the hotel in Fort Lee, Plowden was already back inside, sleeping next to another woman. Then things took another turn when a man named David Taylor walked in unexpectedly. He wasn't supposed to be there. Sims panicked, pulled out a gun, and shot Taylor in the face execution style. In one moment, a planned robbery turned into a murder case that would shake every life connected to it. After that, everything broke apart. Gina was the first to get picked up, and when the pressure came down, she folded. She gave investigators a 169-page statement, laying out every detail she knew and pointing straight at Max. According to her, he was the mastermind, the one who created the plan and convinced her to help. She said he promised her everything, and when things went wrong, she told the authorities everything to save herself. Once they had her statement, they came for Max hard. He was arrested and hit with heavy charges, including felony murder, even though he wasn't physically there. His bail was set at $2 million, and suddenly, the rising star behind Harlem's wave found himself facing the possibility of losing his whole future. While Max sat in that cold cell, time froze for him, but the world outside kept spinning. And out there, Jim Jones, the same man who once called Max his brother, was everywhere. Jim had just dropped We Fly High, better known as Ballin', and it blew up worldwide. It became his biggest hit ever and officially turned him into a solo star. But behind those walls, Max was hearing something different. He claimed he was the one who wrote We Fly High. According to Max, he ghost wrote that and several of Jim's biggest records. He said the hooks, the melodies, the ad-libs, those came straight from his creative mind. And while Jim was on TV doing interviews and celebrating success, Max was stuck in a cell watching somebody else shine off a sound he said he helped create. After 10 long months, Max finally caught a break. His bail was lowered to $90,000, meaning freedom was within reach, if he could get help. This is where everything got more complicated. Jim stepped in, but the streets whispered that it wasn't out of love or loyalty. Word in Harlem was that Jim agreed to help Max post bail only if Max signed over his publishing rights and committed to 6 albums under Bird Gang. It was a lifeline wrapped in chains. Locked away and desperate, Max didn't have many options. He signed the papers, Jim got control of Max's publishing, and Max got temporary freedom. But his future was now tied to the man he once trusted the most. When Max B walked out of jail in July 2007, he wasn't the same man. Prison had hardened him. The smile was still there, but behind it was a sharper, colder version of himself, carrying resentment that cut deep. He was broke, betrayed, and locked into a deal that took everything he had built. But as he watched his name grow in the streets again, Max decided something important. If Jim wasn't going to give him his credit, then he wasn't staying silent anymore. He was ready for war. And when Max declared war, he meant every part of it. He wasn't just fighting for credit anymore. He was fighting for his respect, his name, and the identity he built from the ground up. He walked away from Bird Gang and started planning his own path. If Jim was going to benefit from his work, Max was determined to let the whole world know what really happened. Nothing was off limits. That's when French Montana stepped into the picture. At that time, French wasn't the star he is today. He was known for his Cocaine City DVD series, giving a raw look into Bronx street life. He already had his own issues with Jim due to a past shooting situation that left bad tension and plenty of rumors. So when Max and French linked up, it wasn't just about music, it felt personal. Together, they formed the movement called K-Wave. And K-Wave became way more than just a rap crew. They were the outsiders taking shots at the industry from the shadows, and they weren't scared of anything. Max didn't have the big industry machine on his side, but he had something stronger, the people. So he fed the streets nonstop with mixtape after mixtape, dropping music for free and making sure nobody could block his voice. But he didn't stop at dropping songs. Max turned his feud with Jim into full-on entertainment. Every interview, every appearance, every track, he was talking boldly. One of the first major moments came with his mixtape, Public Domain 3. The cover said everything. Max standing in a cemetery next to tombstones labeled Millie, Jim Jones, and Vanilli Jules Santana, basically calling them fake, like the group Milli Vanilli. Then came the lyrics. Max rapped, "I know them dudes need me. I was giving them the loot, but them dudes done blew it." He was letting everyone know he believed he created that sound, and without him, they were lost. The streets heard it, and the reaction was huge. Harlem started taking sides fast. Jim had the fame, but Max had the streets behind him. But Max didn't stop. He went even deeper, aiming at reputations. One of the wildest moments of the whole feud came when Max dropped the track She Touched It in Miami. It wasn't just a diss, it was meant to shake everything. On the song, Max claimed that Jim's longtime partner, Chrissy Lampkin, had been involved with him. The line originally included graphic details, so here it's rewritten safely. Max claimed that in Miami, she had been with him, while he said Bigavelli was in the background, and he joked about it like it was no big deal. Max even laughed in interviews, calling Jim emotional and saying he couldn't handle the truth. Jim Jones, on the other hand, didn't see any of this coming. When Max started taking public shots, Jim tried to act unfazed, brushing off the claims and downplaying Max's importance. He went on interviews saying Max was just bitter, washed up, and someone who never reached his potential. He denied Max had anything to do with We Fly High, saying he wrote his biggest hit himself. But the streets weren't buying it. Old reference tracks had already been floating around, and they clearly had Max's voice on them. Soon, people began asking how much of Jim's success, even within Dipset, came from him versus the people around him. Meanwhile, Max wasn't backing down. He moved like someone who wanted all the smoke. He even started talking about how the beef wasn't just music, it was street level too. He claimed there was a moment when Jim Jones tried to ambush him in a parking lot, blocking his car with a Bentley. According to Max, he reacted fast, hit the gas, pushed Jim's car out the way, and even landed a few punches before speeding off. French Montana and others close to Max backed up his story, and soon the whole thing became legend. The feud transformed into a full-blown street saga. Then came November 2008, the moment when everything got even more heated. Max and French decided they weren't going to just talk anymore. They rolled deep into Manhattan and walked straight into the building where Jim was recording, ready to send a message that the streets weren't safe for Jones to move how he used to. Max later claimed that when Jim realized what was happening, he called the cops. Whether true or not, that statement alone hurt Jim's image. In that world, being labeled as someone who called the police during a dispute was one of the worst things you could be accused of. Not long after, their crews clashed again at a club in Brooklyn. It turned into chaos, chairs thrown, bottles breaking, officers and canines rushing in to stop the fight. By the end, Max had done more than beef with Jim Jones. He flipped the narrative. He turned Jim into someone people joked about, while Max himself became a cult figure, a street legend who didn't need a label or a corporate push. But while the music kept flowing, the law finally closed in. Max's case from that failed robbery years earlier had been slowly moving through the court system. And when the verdict came, it hit like a hammer. Max was sentenced to 75 years in prison. The hip-hop world was stunned. Fans couldn't believe it. It felt like the wave got taken out before it even hit full strength. And while people were heartbroken, Jim Jones seemed to be celebrating quietly. From his viewpoint, he thought he had just made the perfect business move. Max was locked up, his voice muted, and Jim still owned the publishing rights to his music. It looks like he had won. But everything flipped again in May 2010. A judge ruled that Jim Jones no longer had any control over Max B's music career. The court found that Max had completed both his 2005 and 2007 contracts, which freed him from Jim's hands completely. Then came the real shock. A few years later, Max's 75-year sentence was reduced to 20, and then later to just 12. Slowly but surely, Max started to see daylight again. And after all those long years, the man who built a whole wave even from inside a jail cell is finally back home. The story feels unreal, but he's really out, walking free and soaking up the moment. But even with his release, the internet couldn't resist sparking fresh drama. The second people heard Max was close to coming home, the same old noise showed up. New snitching rumors. Anytime a rapper beats a heavy sentence, the whispers always creep in. And Max wasn't spared at all. This time, the person pushing the talk was Wack 100. According to him, he claimed he had paperwork saying Max cooperated with authorities while locked up. In an interview with Vlad TV, he said he had documents showing Max met with investigators and shared information that helped reduce his original sentence. Wack claimed Max provided details about a woman connected to the case and even told investigators where she worked, saying that played a role in his sentence dropping from 80 years to 20. He also claimed he spoke with people close to Max who backed up the story and that there was supposed video footage that could hurt Max if it ever leaked. But here's where everything gets shaky. Nobody outside of Wack 100 has ever seen this paperwork. And even Wack admitted he doesn't personally know Max B and has never had real dealings with him. So a lot of people saw the whole thing for what it looked like. Someone trying to grab attention off another man's name. Fans jumped in fast to defend Max, calling Wack's claims straight-up clout chasing. Most people didn't care about the noise anyway. They were just happy to see Max free, smiling, and enjoying life again. Now that Max B is officially home, the big question is whether he'll jump back into music, and if the new generation will welcome him the way the older one did. The game looks totally different now, but one thing never changes. The streets don't forget their legends. For now, Max seems focused on enjoying his freedom, reconnecting with friends, feeling the love, and breathing in all the energy that waited on him for so many years. If you rocked with this breakdown, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.